All right, guys, what I want to talk about today is building a tube bumper for your vehicle. In my case, of course, this is the Dodge Ram project. So I want to show you a few things that's going on here. This is my first tube bumper build ever. So I'm not an expert, but I want to show you guys the process and show you guys what I'm gonna do with this truck. And I'm sure you guys will have feedback and suggestions, and that'll be great. I can put those into future projects. But in the meantime, I'm gonna take you through a few tools and give you guys a quick layout on what I'm gonna be doing. So a few things that I've got going. This, you might be wondering what it is. It was a Speedway bender, and I've got an air over hydraulic ram in there. This is not a good setup. It does work, but I wouldn't suggest it to other people. I can talk about that more later, but I do have a tubing bender, so that's for 1 3/4 tubing. We got grinder, definitely a tool that I'll be using a lot. Hole saws, so I got the Ryobi, of course the welder. It's a MIG welder from Harbor Freight, MIG 170. It's a titanium series welder with the 7525 gas running in there. So yeah, should be a lot of fun. I'll show you guys what I'm doing here with the plan, the quick outline. So here we are the following morning. I ended up finding out some measurements because the more I looked at this, my first time bending tube, I realized I needed to get as much measurements as I could. So I measured a few things here. I measured the inside radius of the bend when I start and stop my bends. So on this Speedway bender, I've got 13 7/8 of an inch. I figured out that from the end of my bend, I need to go 17 inches past that point on the bender to get my bed cut area going from the back of the bed over to the fender well. And if everything's right, I hope I've got the measurement right, I need 58 inches from the start of this bend to the start of that bend. So these are my dimensions. This comes out to just under 10 feet, which happens to be perfect because these are 10-foot sticks. So I got really lucky. I thought a 10-foot stick would pull it off. I didn't know, but thankfully it'll work. Well, basically we have one tube that comes out, kicks, goes across, and then back that way. Then I have a second one that ties into the very rear mounted tube. Go forward, over, very close to the body, and kick out. And then you have a plate that covers it. So if you can imagine that, great. If not, I will show you as we go. Dimple dies will be put in there. So I need some sheet metal and some dimple dies. And then coming around the side here, that very back tube is gonna come around, tie in, go like that. And the tube's gonna overlap that body enough where it hides the imperfection. And then I can also kind of do some stitch or tack welds to that body. So if I have a rock hit it, it's tied into that tubing and it doesn't completely just give way. It's definitely gonna leave marks, but some rigidity. So that is the plan, and I'll take you guys through. Won't be a perfect build series, but I'm gonna take you guys through what I'm doing, and we're gonna get to bending and cutting and some welding. So I wasn't able to get a good shot of the welding, but I will get that soon. So far, just very, very basic. I got this tube. Hopefully this is starting to make sense for you guys. The back of this is coming out, but then our second piece is gonna tie into it and then come that way. So yeah, and then the center section will get some supports, and then the plating like I talked about earlier. So yeah, slowly coming together. I'm gonna wrap it up for tonight and continue another time. This is a little bit difficult to see, but you can see that 3/8 plate that I had notched out earlier. So that is up against some holes where the bumper used to bolt into. So I have it tack welded right now. I'll show you this other side. So you can see just a couple of tack welds just to get things started. But basically I'm gonna end up plug welding that and then doing some more welding on the inside of the frame as well. And then all of that, of course, is notched out. And you can see right in there, it goes and supports that tube very well, and it ties into the frame. It goes back about 6 inches into this frame. All right, so here's an update. Got the tube in there, and it is set up on a slight slant. I wasn't happy with my fitment, but I really needed this bumper in a specific place, so some of the welds weren't so hot, some were a little better. You can see I'm not the best fabricator, but they're hot and they're smooth and they're gonna hold. But yeah, oh, excuse the sirens. I think it's coming out pretty well. Yeah, there she is. Got this bend here, that one around the corner, get some protection from the rocks on the sides. This is just aesthetics, and also to add a filler plate in the back here. So that'll be the next step of this project. And then I need to get my trailer hitch put in. So we'll put a hitch somewhere about there in the center. So one thing I didn't like, and I kept pointing it out throughout the video so far, is how this, I had to cut it. So this main tube right here had to be cut, and it really bothered me. I had to splice it and reinforce it. Well, it dawned on me that, why don't we turn this into a positive? I need a trailer hitch receiver. Originally I was gonna mount it like down here, but how much better would it be to have clearance? And so I recessed this up into this tube. This was already having to be spliced anyways, so may as well add this stronger boxed receiver tube here, and then weld around the bottom, and then cut some of this tubing up, and then put that back in there afterward. So I'm gonna do that. And then I also have some of this quarter wall 1.5 inch tube, which is gonna tie into this quarter wall, which then ties into the frame. So basically we have pressure from the frame into the quarter wall, across more quarter wall to the receiver tube. So you have a tube here, a tube there. So you have one tie in here and one tie in there. And that'll help with rotational up and down twist, and also side to side. You won't have any of that. So that should be really strong and a lot better design than what I originally had thought about doing. Also, that pin, I left just enough room to get access to put a pin through. So that way everything will be solid. So it's coming along. So one of the next things I'm doing here today, this morning, is getting some cardboard. I've got this, and I've been mocking that cardboard up on this section over here. And now I'm just transferring my template over to the sheet metal. So this is giving me some rough estimates, and then I'm gonna go back and clean it up. And then we will do some dimple dyeing. I've been playing with a dimple dye. This is just, standard punched in the center. This is punched on the edge. I'm not sure if that's gonna be a good thing or a bad thing, as far as like keeping the tool working properly long term, but it does work. And this is a Woodward Fab punch and dye combo.
So I really like it. Really nice holes, comes out really clean. I'm not a YouTuber per se, so, but I also will say that I'm not sponsored. Everything you see is purchased by me. But anyways, you open it up, you can see it's got that punch in there, and then also the die, so it's an all-in-one. But yeah, really nice to use. So that's what we'll be working on. I'll give you guys an update here after I get through that. All right, so I have all of my punch locations laid out. So everything with a plus and then a punch in it is getting a dimple die. So one here, there, there, there. So everybody's gonna be different on what they do for dimple dies. I laid out mine every 7 inches. So here's center, and I laid these out 7 inches apart, 7 inches apart, and then staggered. So you're gonna have a row of holes down the center, and then you're gonna have some half moons on the outsides. And then over here, that punch is centered in this gap. So I have a hole here, and then centers and half moons, centers, half moons. So hopefully it turns out well. All right, so here we are, following morning. My projects do take me a while because I do small bits at a time, maybe an hour here and an hour there. But you can see I went ahead and I decided to dimple die everything. So this is the back of the cab, and that's near the very rear of the bumper. I found as far as fitment goes, I need to pull like a 1/4 inch out of there. I also, because I went and dimple dyed everything, I need to take the flap disc and clean up this edge so we can get it welded flat and not have any gaps. So that's a 3/4 of an inch. So basically I'm just gonna round it out like a piece of tubing is sitting there just with a flap disc. So I'm gonna go through and get that cleaned up. I went ahead and I put some paint in here. I know I'm going to be welding in here, but I wanted to get as much coverage in here while I could before I went and capped it, because I know spraying from the underside and top side is going to miss some stuff with that plate on there. So yeah, just got what I could, and then of course once this has got some stitch welds and it's attached over the rear of the bumper, I'll do a final coat paint after that. All right, so here we are. Right now I'm in the middle of welding this in. So I got this centered up, clamped down, and then I started tack welding. And then I'm kind of playing around with different welding styles. Doing that, doing that. And then just a bunch of tacks. So the idea here is these half moon dimple dies is I can feed a soft shackle through there, use any part of my bumper as a recovery point, including the hitch, which is built in right there. And then we'll get some paint going. I do have one more thing to do, is add a support right in that section there. It needs a support going up to the frame, so that is strengthened. So in summary, here's with some paint on there. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I had a chance to go out and use that, recover somebody yesterday. And after doing a nice full day of wheeling,
and testing things out, decided to go ahead and start working on some more things. It's like every time I take it out, I find what I want to change and come home and tear it back down. But yeah, really happy with the bumper. You can see I did get that support added. I need to do a little more welding. You can see an issue there. But now I'm working on going from a hanger where the shackle is on top to a shackle where traditional shackle where it hangs down and then swings out. So anyways, a lot of work, but cut that out, working on that. So that's to come. And I probably won't do a video on that one, but it's a kit through Dodge Off-Road that I'm putting in. But as far as the bumper goes, super happy with it. Great day.